Welcome to the Masters in Motion podcast, where we empower Masters athletes to reach their full potential. Join us as we delve into the world of CrossFit and showcase the strength, resilience, and determination of Masters athletes, because we love this sport. I'm Jason Grubb with Rick Stevenson, and we have a special episode today. Lucky enough, we had Annie Sakamoto scheduled to be on our podcast today, and a huge announcement came out from CrossFit HQ about the Masters athletes. You know, we've heard the rumors and it's finally out there. If you haven't seen the post, go to the CrossFit Games Instagram account. It's a post on there. But Rick, how are you, man? I'm excited. We've got a lot to talk about today in this interview.
A truly newsworthy day. Just a regular Tuesday here in October, right? Yeah. It's going to be fun.
It's going to be fun. So we've got Annie on today, and we're going to pull her in here live in just a second. But tell us a bit about what you know about Annie Sakamoto, a legend of legends in this sport.
A lady that really needs no introduction, but a wife, a mother of two, certainly an athlete, a coach, and an affiliate owner. She is herself a 4-times Games athlete, winning the 2021 45 to 49 championship at the Games, the 2011 Spirit of the Games recipient, a CrossFit Level 2 trainer, a CrossFit Games analyst, which we all know her from, one of the original CrossFit Nasty Girls, and a true ambassador of CrossFit. We're really excited to have Annie on and speak with her now.
Let's jump in. All right, guys, we're live. I've got Rick Stevenson, Annie Sakamoto. Annie, thank you so much for joining us on our podcast. We've been working on this for a time. You've been living life to the fullest in a number of ways, including moving your affiliate. So I think we've got you on one of the best nights with the CrossFit Games announcement today about Masters athletes. I think it's a great night for us to all be together on this podcast. Wouldn't you agree?
I think it's very fitting, and I appreciate the timing.
Timely.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, we love to predict the future, and kind of got lucky. So Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
It's great to be able to speak with you. I think in the and certainly we have a lot to discuss with the news from today, but then also a little bit of your backstory. But as a fan, I want to just confirm, obviously the workout Annie is named for you, right? But is there a backstory? Because I've never heard a backstory on that. And, you know, we know where some of the names obviously come from, but for the girls especially, because of all the OGs like yourself, was there something specific to it with the double unders and sit-ups?
I so wish there was some sexy story that came with my workout, but it was one of those things where, when I first started, obviously I was lucky enough to be at the original gym with Greg and at the time, Lauren Glassman, now Lauren Janai. But we still, every morning, the first thing you would do is log on to, we called it .com, CrossFit.com, and look at what they posted as the workout of the day, and then look at the comment section, because that is, where everybody would post their times and their scores. And one morning I woke up and I opened up .com, and there was Annie, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, double unders and sit-ups. And to this day, I'm not quite sure why that is my workout. I can only assume it's because I love double unders and I hate sit-ups. But yeah, no exotic, wonderful story like there is with Kelly. I don't know if you know who Kelly Moore is. She was a very early poster on the .com site. She was an amazing athlete. And there was specifically this one workout that had dumbbells in it, and she just crushed the workout. And I think she even did it at the men's dumbbell weight. And anyway, she, everybody's giving her all these accolades on the side, like, oh my God, Kelly, you're amazing. And she said, well, that's only because it wasn't running box jumps and wall balls. And literally the next day was Kelly, 5 rounds of a 400-meter run, 30 wall balls, 30 box jumps. So unfortunately, mine's not quite that exotic. But it is what it is.
Oh, and repeated. Think about how many times that workout has been repeated.
Right. And my name has been cursed when somebody's hit the shower.
Well, yeah.
Yes.
Back to the legs, the trips. Yeah, you got it. Yep. The burn from the sit-ups. Traditional sit-ups.
Yep.
Regular sit-ups. Kind of leads to, I do like what HQ is doing right now with the workout of the day, change and having guest programmers. I mean, for years, Jason goes back a long time. I go back a long time. At different points, we've all followed main site. We've watched the videos, the old YouTube way. And it was just always there and you never had much context behind it, being as far away as we are from the origin of it. But now to have a couple of guest programmers going with 2-week blocks, Dave and Boz, and now I think it's Ben Smith currently doing it. It's changing it up a little bit. And I think, I'll tell you, I get the email and now I'm suddenly looking at it a little more closer than I used to, just for that. Have they asked you, are you a programmer by chance? I know you're a coach.
Yeah. So
absolutely.
Actually,
coach by heart.
I love coaching. Programming is not my favorite thing. So honestly, I hope they don't.
Okay.
But I do like it. I like that it has a little different flavor with everybody who comes on in programs. But I think, the underlying theme always with .com and ideally with a lot of the guest programmers is that elegance is in the simplicity of the programming. So we're all, it's so easy to be part of these gyms or go into gyms where it's EMOMs and 3 different pieces and accessory work and so many different things. And it's very complex and there's a ton of stuff going on. And I think that we fail to remember sometimes that simple is actually better. It, can often be the hardest or the most potent of all of the CrossFit workout.
Well,
methodology.
Let me put you on the spot, Annie. With that thought, I was just thinking, okay, so you didn't get to choose Annie as your workout. It just got assigned to you. But with that in mind, the elegance, the simplicity, with your strengths, I know you're very gymnasticsy, very good at all that. You're good at everything, but very gymnastics biased. Annie 2.0, let's name one. What would you want? Annie 2.0 or 3? There probably is an Annie 2.0. I don't even know, but let's call a new Annie workout. Let's replace it and have you decide what would your workout be if you had the opportunity to create your workout. Now that you've got 15, 20 years of experience, what do you call it? What do you do? What is the Annie?
I think, I'd love to say strict ring muscle ups because that's about all I can do. I think I'm kipping, but they're really just strict. No, I would definitely have higher volume ring muscle ups in there because I do love ring muscle ups. And then honestly, I would probably put something like wall balls in there because I hate them so much. I'm horrible at them. And, it's kind of one of those things where your workout shouldn't just be what you like. It should be what you need. So it would probably be really high rep muscle ups and really low rep wall balls.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Right. 30 muscle ups every break, 2 wall ball shots. I love it. I think that's perfect.
There it is.
It's perfect. Annie 2.0, Annie with wall balls, or I know. Okay. Anyway, that's great. Thank you.
Exactly.
I'm going off on my programming tomorrow and I'll try that.
It's literally, it's going to be programmed for Boulder athletes next week.
I love it.
To do that. As a, one of the original Nasty Girls, can you give us a little bit of background? Take us back when you started or when you walked into the original gym. What led you there? At that point in time, how did you hear about it or your beginning of your CrossFit journey a little bit?
Yeah. So, I was, teaching a cardio kickboxing class and, don't think anything cool, legitimately think like Tybo, Billy Blanks. And I was teaching that here in Santa Cruz at just some of the local studios. And I had known Eva Tordokins for a really long time. I had taken a hip hop dance class with her from my sister-in-law, back when I was like 18 years old. And so I had, and she was good friends with my sister-in-law. And so I had known Eva for a while. Eva came to one of my kickboxing classes and she was like, hey, if you're into fitness, you should come try CrossFit. And I think at that point I had maybe heard of it, but I was like, you know what? I hear people throw up. My kickboxing is great. I feel, fit enough. I don't want to do it. And she was like, no, just come in. I'll do a personal training session with you. And I promise you won't throw up. So I was like, okay. So I went into the original gym. And she took me through a workout. It was 3 rounds of 10 deadlifts at like 65 pounds, 10 pass-throughs, a pommel horse. We had a pommel horse at the original gym.
I've seen that in the videos.
Yep. And then a 400-meter run. But, I operated on beats per minute. That was intensity for me. I had never, I didn't know how to impart intensity upon myself. So I did my deadlifts. I did the pass-throughs. I jogged the 400, did 3 rounds of it. And it was like, people throw up. They should be taking my kickboxing class because people are not fit if they're throwing up from this. Came home, told my husband, hey, I tried this thing called CrossFit. I think I'm okay at it because I didn't throw up. And he had actually done it, in like the late 90s with a couple of surfers here in Santa Cruz. And he's like, I've done it before, I'll go take a class with you. So we went to the 7 a.m. class on like a Friday morning, and Greg was there and he was coaching the class.
Oh boy.
Wow.
And there was like maybe 8 of us. And so the workout was a 500-meter row, some amount of air squats, some amount of kettlebell swings, like 15 or 20 air squats, kettlebell swings, 3 trips around a cargo net. We had a cargo net at the original gym. And then 25 glute ham sit-ups, 3 rounds. And Greg staggered the start. And so the goal was to catch the person in front of you, but not let the person behind you catch you.
Yeah.
And there we had intensity. So that, like, I was really trying to catch the guy ahead of me, not let the person behind me catch me. I did all 75 glute ham sit-ups all the way down, all the way up. I had never done a glute ham sit-up in my life.
Oh, what did they tell you?
So the next day I was like, wow, I'm pretty sore. My abs are sore. I kind of like the way this feels. This is amazing. The day after that, I couldn't laugh, fart, cough, sneeze, bend over forwards, backwards, touch my toes. And I told my husband, like, you have to take me to the hospital. I think I was distended. Like, I think I have a hernia. Something's wrong. And he said, well, let me go talk to Greg and Laura and I'll go see what they think. And they were like, please don't take her to the hospital. Please, whatever you do. I felt better probably like 3 or 4 days later. I'm sure I had a mild case of rhabdo. But by the time I felt better, I was hooked. I had never felt like that in my life. And I knew I wanted more.
That great recall. I'll tell you what, I'm sure you're as that, but I have trouble remembering what I did last week.
Same, actually. But that one left a mark.
But there are, yes, I was going to say workouts in all of our journeys, especially early on, that leave a mark, leave an impression.
Yep.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
75 GHDs will leave a memory. Yeah, there's a memory.
Yeah.
I've heard a million Fran stories, but I've never heard somebody from 0 to 60 miles an hour on GHDs like that. So congratulations. Yeah. Well, you deserve it. And so that was back in 2004. 6, 7?
2004.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you'll be all right. Not many people can say 20 years coming up.
Yep. We're coming on.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
So you began. You were hooked.
Yep.
Did you want to coach after a while?
That's a great question. I think that was around May, and Nicole Carroll started right around the same time that I started. Eva was there. Lonnie Lau was there. There was this gal, I think her name was Christine. We all called her Chem Girl. But there was a great group that was at the original gym. And I remember Greg was doing one of his seminars, like October of 2004. And he was like, hey, I want you to take the seminar and, you could become a coach. And I was like, no, I really don't have any desire to coach. I was managing a restaurant. I was actually still teaching my kickboxing classes at the time. And I was like, no, I don't really want to be a coach. And he was like, he made me basically take the seminar.
Wow.
And it was great. It was, back then it was, he lectured and it was incredible, but it was really kind of a hangout. We went through a lot of workouts. And then he kind of pressured me to start coaching, and he gave me like an afternoon class once a week. And, it maybe took me a couple months, but then I was hooked. I really enjoyed coaching. And then luckily, my husband had a good job, and I was like, okay, I'm quitting my job managing this restaurant. I'm all in on this CrossFit thing. That was probably like early mid 2005, and I have never.
Wow. So that's a wealth of coaching experience too.
Yeah.
When you look back on, you've seen the journeys that you've probably helped people along the way get to levels where they didn't think they could get to, or achieve a movement for the first time, or just get started.
Yep.
I don't know what the community is like out there for either the original or your current gym, but if it's like a lot of ours, it's a mix, and it's all kinds of different fitness stories for different reasons. And your passion for coaching certainly has come through.
Yep. That's, I did the seminars for a while. And then once I had kids, it was a little harder to travel. But I also realized, as special as those seminars are, and you get emails from people that are like, you changed my life in the weekend. Honestly, seeing people on a daily basis and understanding, the things that make them work hard, or just finding out their little idiosyncrasies and nuances and how I can help them is so much more gratifying to me. That is amazing as those seminars are, I knew that like, I really want to coach on a daily basis and see people make those incremental, steps, month over month, year over year. That's what just fills me up. Yeah.
By staying there. And that's the key.
Yep.
So, when did you finally decide to strike out on your own, with CrossFit Santa Cruz Central?
So I think it must have been maybe early 2007, somewhere 2006, 2007. Greg and Lauren moved to Prescott, Arizona. At that time, they could not afford to buy a house in Santa Cruz. I mean, a house that they would want. So they moved to Prescott. Greg I think his dad was out there. I managed the gym. There was probably like 12 of us that were trainers. And it was great. We just kind of ran the gym how we always had. And we were always in contact with Greg and Lauren. But it got to the point where like, I would have to call Lauren and be like, we need toilet paper. And she would order toilet paper. We need this, we need that. And it wasn't working for them. There was kind of too many coaches at that point. And so a couple of us kind of grouped up and started our own CrossFit gyms. And that just made more sense for everybody at that point to kind of either own or go work for one of us that was going to go own a gym. So that was late 2007 is when we became an affiliate, and then we opened in 2008.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And as you said, haven't looked back since.
Exactly.
So talk about your, when did you start getting competitive? I mean, besides the first workout, because I know for me, the attraction of CrossFit from the first week was, how do I get good enough to beat these guys in my gym? There was a natural race in it every day. But so Annie, for you, what does that path look like for you?
Well, those early days, again, like I was lucky enough to be with Nicole Carroll and Eva and, there was a lot, Greg Amundsen and all these amazing athletes at the original gym. And so it was like you're saying, like there was a daily competition, at the gym. There was no CrossFit Games until 3 years later or whatever. And by then I had just had my daughter. She was like almost a year old. And honestly, and I've told this story a few times, that first CrossFit Games, I was really scared to compete. And a lot of it was I thought that the community would have an expectation of how I would do. In reality, that was my own expectation of how I would do. Basically that I needed to win it because I had been on the site so often and I had done so many workouts for .com. And so honestly, I was too chicken shit to measure up when it really came down to it. And so I didn't compete until 2011. And that was the first year that there was the open. And now I'm I own an affiliate, and everybody in the affiliate wants to do the open, and everybody's like, hey, Annie, you have to do it with us. Like, you own the affiliate, you have to do the open. I was like, nah, okay, fine, whatever, I'll do it. And ended up qualifying for regionals. And I was like, well, I'm not going to go to regionals because I don't want to qualify for the games. And, a couple people were like, well, you haven't been training for it, so you're probably not going to qualify for the games anyway. So just go do regionals. And,
just go do it.
Yeah. And it was in San Jose, so it was close. So I went and did regionals, and lo and behold, at the end of the weekend, I was in third place.
You accidentally
So
qualified.
I had qualified. Yes. Well, China Cho and I were tied for points at the end of the weekend. But because I had an event win, I got the invite. And China really wanted to go to the game. And I don't know if she knew that I was hesitant to go to the games, but I'll never forget, she pulled me aside and she was like, you better take that in.
Nice.
And I did. And it was so freeing to be at the games and to learn that, the community supported me no matter how I did on a workout or how my overall outcome was, that, the community loved me for my efforts, not for my placings, just like they do for everybody else. Right.
Yep.
And that was such a freeing moment for me. And, and then that was it. And then I was hooked on competition.
Oh, so the switch was flipped.
Yep.
Once you got past that, kind of wall that you put up yourself.
Exactly.
Then look at where she's gone from that. And as a fan of the sport way back then, you were such a recognizable name. And I'm like, okay, there's this guy, Rich, who's defending in 2011. All right. Yeah. And Chris Spieler, everybody's favorite, just because he's going up with, David versus Goliath. But Annie, everybody knew Annie's name. I didn't know all the female names or something like that. So it was really kind of cool to see that, that games. And that's the year we were going to say that, or the Spirit of the Games. And I think that's a testament to, what they thought of you with your contribution to the sport at that stage. And I'm glad they do that each year.
Me too.
It had to be something special.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
On the competition floor. But then as we've all gotten a little older, you've made the natural transition to age groups, to masters. And did you have any kind of preconceived notions about competing as somebody who's had success at the elite level, but then transitioning to masters? Because I know we've talked in the past, there's that hesitancy maybe with some of the other bigger names, like some have done it and some haven't. Mm-hmm. And what holds back the 35 to 39 group from being just an absolute star-studded festival at the games is maybe some names that aren't there.
Right.
So, but did you have, were those thoughts that you might have wrestled with, or heck, you just want to get on the floor again and throw down?
Well, so for me, I think the first year I competed, I was 35. The age groups didn't start until 40 back then. And so I think I was 35. The second year I was 36. And, and there was, back then there was like Cheryl Brost was there and Angie Pye and Becky Konzelman. And so there was definitely a handful of us that were, in our late 30s and mothers, and trying to compete. But that the sport, advanced so quickly that it was very obvious that, when you're a business owner, a mother of two, and 35, 36 years old, it is really hard to keep up, especially with how quickly everybody was getting better. And so honestly, by the time I was about 38, I was just biding my time. I made regionals all of those years up until I was an official master at 40. I made regionals, but at the last 2 years when I was 38 and 39, I was just there to just continue competing. I didn't really think I would qualify for the games because it was just so much tougher at that point. And so probably by the time I was 38, I was really eyeing that 40-year-old masters division. I was really excited about it. But I hadn't had that many years. I only had 2 years at the games prior. That first year was a total fluke. The second year I really wanted to make it back. The third year I just missed. By that fourth year, I was like, hey, this is getting a lot tougher to qualify. So pretty early on, I was actually eyeing the masters division.
See? Everybody wants to turn in our sport as masters athletes. We all want to get older at a certain point, don't we? And I go to work and I talk with everybody at work, and they dread hitting certain numbers. I'm like, bring it on.
Yeah.
Let's flip the calendar. Come on. It's okay.
I need that next division.
Yes. It's such a different mindset. They look at me like I'm crazy. And I'm like, hey, it's okay.
Well,
Let's see what the sport, what the methodology does for us. It puts us in this frame of mind. Yeah. We love it. It works. It's successful.
And honestly, it is one of the things that is so impressive about you, Jason, is, I won the 45-year-old division when I was 45. And then that was it. For numerous reasons, but the fact that you have won that division as you've gotten older and everybody else essentially stays younger, in a lot of ways, it's just so incredibly impressive to me. Jen Dieter is the same way. She's not winning, but she's qualifying. The fact that she qualified at 48, 49 for a 10-person division is absolutely mind-blowing to me.
Yeah, Justin LaSala in my age group is another guy that has been there 6 or 7 times and qualified from 45 through 49. And it bumps up with you, Rick, next year, I think. But wow, it's there we go. To get to the games is so incredibly hard with a field of 10. It's so hard that even this year, I'll be honest, I accidentally, it seems cliche, but I accidentally won quarterfinals and semifinals because I was battling so hard just to get a spot to get to the game, just to make sure I was in the top 10, because I never know on a blind leaderboard in an online qualifier. You just don't know what you're up against. You're chasing ghosts. And
totally.
The ball bounced in my direction, which was great. And then the curse was in our age group or around our division, no one who's won the qualifiers and it has ever won the games in our age group, or at least that was kind of the ghost that was making me nervous. So at the games, I had all this like mojo or whatever. I'm like, I didn't want to win semifinals. I don't want that kind of a target on me. But the target was there anyway. So for you in given your history and your background and such a longevity in the sport and in competition, as a 45-year-old, I did get to sit next to you. I think we got to interact on the field a bit. I mean, I think you and I both finished the handstand walking event that year, and we're in the end zone and just high-fiving each other. It's because, I mean, that's an event that you have to win. I didn't win, by the way. I got second in that event, which I'm still salty about. But it's fine. It's fine. But I saw you during drug testing. There was this, we both sat on the white couches and we were just chit-chatting and having a good time after everything was said and done. But for you, what was it like to go and just take it and to take the win as a 45-year-old mother, business owner, lifelong at this point, CrossFit athlete?
It was really special, just in that, it validated for me the years that I had put into training, right, the sacrifices that I had made. I'm not saying that I needed it to validate everything that I'd done, because I still enjoyed my training. I always enjoyed working out. I love my coach, Jason Leiden, and we have such a great relationship. He's made training really fun. But that was, I wanted it. I really wanted to win, and I really thought that I had the capacity to win the games. You just never know, depending on the programming and the order that things come up.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But so to win it was the culmination of a lot of my efforts and sacrifices, and my family's and people
Mm-hmm.
around me, my business partners and fellow coaches in the gym that covered classes for me. And, especially my husband and my kids that, put up with me and the things that I ate or didn't eat or went to bed or, did all these things. And so it was very special, and it was really fun to win it with you. We hadn't really met before or spent that kind of time together. And that 20 male, 20 female heat where we were out on the floor together, the bond that we formed over those 3 days was amazing. Specifically you and I, but with a lot of the guys and gals out there. So, in so many ways, it was the culmination of, for sure, all of my competitive efforts in CrossFit. But I've always said that I will never compete at the expense of the longevity of staying in this sport. Yeah. Meaning, if it ever becomes not fun, it feels like work, I dread it, for the sake of competing, then I would stop competing, because my goal is to do CrossFit until the day I die.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I don't dread anything ever except a workout that's primarily echo bike. And then I question whether or not I need to do this anymore. Like, this is stupid. This is straight stupid. Or in the last year, shuttle runs had me questioning why we do what we do. I don't know if I want to do this anymore.
There's got to be a men's pickleball league around here that I would be just as fit doing.
Absolutely.
That would be, they have some pretty good coverage. I've seen really good coverage of pickleball on YouTube. And so
I'm going back to the golf course.
There you go.
So, the news came out today, just a slight shifting of gears, and we've got, 3 CrossFit Games alumni here. And the news came out today that confirmed the rumors that we all already knew, that the CrossFit Games was going to be partnering with other competitions to hold masters, adaptive, and age group athletes. We want to acknowledge that the adaptive and age group and the teenagers, they have a new path and all that stuff as well. I think we'll talk mostly about masters, but that's not because we're not ignoring them. We're in this context of masters. So it's announced today we will qualify for an in-person championship next year at the Legends Championship, name to be determined if it's going to be the Legends Champ. They weren't clear about that in the post on what that's going to be called, but we will qualify through the open, quarterfinals, semifinals, which that answered a lot of questions I think we all had. Like, how do we get to the games? Yeah. And it did open up quite a few more questions about logistics and all of that. But when I first heard about this enormous shift in the games, spinning off the Masters athletes, when I heard this at the games, I mean, day one at the games, I heard the rumor. And I was like, it stung. It was hard to swallow. But now it's for reals. It's out there. CrossFit releases it today. Your initial thoughts, impressions, maybe when you heard it, Annie, maybe the rumors, what were your feelings around that? And again, I just want to preface this, that none of us have all the details. So we're just there's still some speculation, but I don't think it's unfair to talk about what it feels like. I think that's a fair thing. So what were some of your thoughts and feelings, Annie?
Well, I think just like you said, I had heard rumors for months now, probably since the games, that this is the direction it was heading for the teens, the masters, and the adaptive athletes. And, on one hand, I understand we've all been in the back when there's 430 of us getting briefed on workouts, and they're trying to manage all of us. And it's a ginormous group of people, and it's a massive undertaking to give us a great competition. Then they chop down to 10. And actually, I don't know, you guys would maybe have better feedback for me. I don't like the 10-person heat. I just don't like that as a competition. And so the thought of, I'm going to guess that these competitions will now go back to bigger categories, numbers in those groups.
Larger fields.
Fields, thank you. Really makes me happy, because I think we're going to have a better competition that way. I've been lucky enough to have been to 2 of the Legends championships. I've been on the media side, but I've been able to witness it, and they've done a fantastic job. I think their tests have been great of the athletes. I think they run a really good event. So in that sense, I think it's great as far as our experience goes as athletes that want to be competitive. And I understand where CrossFit is coming from. Like I said, it's a huge undertaking. Having said that, being at the games at the same venue where the elite individuals and teams are competing, I think there's a lot of people that end up coming and watching our 3 divisions, the masters, the teens, and the adaptive, because they're already on site. They maybe come a day early. I don't think those people are going to specifically go to whatever venue these other events are at. And, you're doing check-in with Annie Thorsdottir and Matt Frazier. You're in the same dressing rooms that they are. I mean, that might sound silly, but I think for a lot of us, it really, really matters. And so, I think that that's a bummer that experience is going to be taken away from people. Honestly, I feel really lucky to have gone through it, that experience. The girl who owns the gym with me, she was at the games as a master's athlete in 2015. And we were talking today, like, will you say you're a games athlete next year? Or are you a Legends athlete? What are you? And she said, wow, I sure am glad I made it in 2015, so I can really say I'm a games athlete. And those are things that I think a lot of us are thinking about.
Yeah, I think that's an important point. This identity of who are we now? Like, in the future, will we be games champions? What will we call that? Because that really has, at least in my experience at CrossFit, that's almost 10 years. My 10-year anniversary of starting is in about a month. But when I first discovered that I could turn 40 and attempt to become a games athlete after having watched Rich Froning become the fittest man in history live on my iPhone, almost hidden, because I told my wife back then that I was not going to get obsessed with this. And I'm watching, I'm sneaking the CrossFit Games on my iPhone and watching Rich Froning that weekend. So no, I was obsessed and then of course become full all in on this. But I always had that dream of becoming a games athlete. It did become part of an identity. And that's, you got to be careful with adopting an identity that's based on an external whatever. But still, accomplishment. I really think it would be very special and very cool and appropriate if CrossFit is able to retain that identity, so that if we go for this in-person championship, which is a nice way of putting it, maybe it's the CrossFit Games presented by something like that.
Legends,
you got to figure out what rolls off the tongue, of course. But however that all bounces, if we're able to retain that CrossFit Games champion or CrossFit Games athlete, that is a huge thing. And the fact, I agree with you, Annie, the silver lining in this was certainly the fact that we'll probably have 30 to maybe 40 qualifiers in each age division. That's been typical for Legends in the past. But even if it's 20 to 30, we've been begging for that from CrossFit, because you get so many more people being able to fulfill their dreams of competing on the competition floor. And that's fantastic. And selfishly, I don't want to have to thread the needle to make the top 10 to get to the games next year. Top 10 is just so hard.
Totally.
So I think I can get there in the top 30 without killing myself. But, that'd be nice. But I agree with you as well. I won't linger on this, but there was something special, and Rick got to experience this as well, when you're in the warm-up area and Jeff Adler is warming up next to you, or I remember my first year at the games. Oh my gosh. I was starting to warm up for a snatch. And at that time, I didn't even know there was a difference between like an Olympic bar and a rogue bar. Like, I didn't know there was an Olympic lifting barbell. Didn't know that would even existed. I'm a rookie at the games trying not to mess things up. And I'm warming up with an Ohio bar, and Rich Froning is like, "Hey man, we're gonna do some squats. You want to switch barbells? You use this Olympic bar?" I'm like, "Sure, thanks, Rich." And I tapped him on the shoulder, like, "Thanks, Rich," as if we're good friends, and he allowed me to touch him. Like, I touched Rich Froning, and I was starstruck, man. I mean, that is a real experience of what it's like to be there in that space. But I also think, on the other hand, that it's up to us as masters athletes in our community and all of the age group and adaptive communities to create their own stars, their own, like, I got to compete with Rick on the floor. As a 50-year-old, I just wanted to get on the floor and compete against Rick. Or, maybe Annie's there as a 47-year-old or 48-year-old. Like, I don't know, somewhere in that range. Or as a 50-year-old, let's round up. We'll all be 50 very soon. But yeah, the honor of being able to get there and compete with so-and-so. Maybe it's Sam Dancer in the 35-year-old age group, or Josh, whoever we can get in there, and the 40-year-old stars, the 45, 50, 55, 60. There's athletes that are aspiring to be like those athletes. And if we could spread the word about these events, we could get butts and seats to come on out to wherever it's going to be, come watch us, and chase that ability to compete on the games floor with the hero of their division, if there is. I think there's opportunities for that. I think we just have to, we kind of have it in our hands as masters. Now it's up to us to kind of share and build our own audience out there.
Yeah, I agree. And I actually really like that, that sentiment, that kind of way of thinking. Because, I always tell my kids, like, this is your choice. Things are your choice. This is our choice, how we're going to view this change, right? Yeah. Like, we can choose to view it as being slighted or, push off to the side, or we can view it as something that's going to be really positive. And I love what you're saying, which is we can choose to create our heroes and to create buzz around this and make this a positive thing and make it fun and try to get people to come watch. And like I said, I've been to the Legends competition twice now, and they put on a great event. I think it could be really good. It
is. And we had the live broadcast those past 2 years that had you on there, that had Sean on there. And honestly, to be an athlete on that floor and hear Annie Sakamoto say, Jason smells blood in the water. I remember when you said that. I've replayed that particular Jason smells blood in the water. I don't know if you remember, but that was the final event of Legends last year. I had to beat the other competitor in both events to win. And I smelled blood in the water. Yes, he broke up his handstand push-ups, and I was like, oh, we're good. We are good. And I was like, I was terrorizing the floor there. Or have Sean say your name. I mean, just you guys, you have, I would say, the two most distinctive voices in the CrossFit world on air is your voice and Sean Woodland's voice. And if either one of those voices says your name live, it's amazing. I mean, it really is. And those are some things that can make athletes feel super special in our own competition, is to hear these voices that sound like CrossFit. I don't know. I mean, that's just, it's a way to make it feel great.
Well, and then that's where, it's not just on Joe and Bob and Legends, but it is a little bit on CrossFit to make sure they're helping create the hype.
Yes.
That they don't just purely hand everything off to Legends or to Pit Team Throwdown or to Wheel Wad, that they're creating as much hype around this as they can. That it is Sean Woodland saying advertisements or things about these events so that it creates hype.
And they've historically, they've had some of those media pieces that they start to put out, a road to the games or Miles to Madison, or whatever they wanted to call them back in the day. But I watched those. Yep. If there was one that was out, that's what we're watching that night. I don't care what night it is. Must see TV was Road to the Games, Miles to Madison. Even the the document or the segments last year where they went back to review Boz putting together the games workouts. Like, what was that called?
Run the test.
Run the test. So
Run the test.
So much fun.
That. Yep.
But you just sneak in, a handful of stories in there that covers the gamut of the games athletes, the individual athletes, the elites. They're great to watch. We love to follow them. We're all fans of that. But then we sprinkle in adaptive masters, teenagers, so that those names get out there. Like, everyone should know Ty Jenkins, the teenage athlete that has won the games, I think, the last 2 years in a row. The guy is going to be huge in this sport, and he's 17, maybe bumping up next year, I think. Or everyone needs to know the names of a couple of adaptive athletes. I don't know names. I know a couple of names, but and masters athletes, just get those names out there so that when people get to see them in person, there is that psychological, like, oh, I've seen that person. I mean, it's a silly example. Like, Rick, when we were at this competition, the Masters Fitness Championship last weekend, so many people came up and would tell me, I think you probably heard it too. It's like, I know your voice. They know my voice. They know your voice, Rick, because they've listened to our podcast. And if we say someone's name on the podcast, it's super special to them. That stuff, I think, CrossFit can do even the most minimal efforts like that. Not high leverage things, but even the minimum, at bare minimum, they can do some fun things. But
by the press release today and the post, they're going to collect our money. So we're going to go through the open and quarters and semis. So what they choose and how they choose to allocate some of those dollars towards support or not having support, I know it becomes a financial decision. We've heard that from everyone on down. Yep. That it's not cheap to run these events. Yep. And Annie, when you said that you were hoping that they don't just hand it off, give a little bit of information and then let the event organizers go from there. As long as we have that support, they tell those stories. And I think back to the commercials that are run in between the broadcast. That's not games specific at all. That's life changing. That's stepping into the gym for the first time. That's overcoming fears or working to improve your health, which is why we all started. I mean, I'll say that for myself, why I started in the first place. So you really have the full gamut. You have the stories that can be highlighted with the higher level competitive athletes, but then you have the everyday stories that are, I can argue, are more meaningful and impactful because that's the majority of the people that do this methodology. So
and those ads or commercials, that's what drives people into our affiliate. As an affiliate owner, it's like all eyes are on the big event, whether it's the games or if it's one of these these new events. All eyes are on. That is your moment to seize and to put out these commercials of the everyday people walking into gyms, because then people watching it aren't like, these people are just freaks of nature, I could never do this. Then they're seeing oh, Rick didn't start like this. He might not have started like this. He might have started like just the every other Joe coming off the street. And now look at what he's doing. So I think that's exactly it, that CrossFit needs to seize those opportunities a little bit more, not just for us as athletes, but especially for us as affiliate owners.
Yes.
Because the current CEO has talked about driving numbers of people into affiliates. And I know this is near and dear to your heart. I mean, I think he's put out a pretty big stretch goal, maybe 30 million people doing CrossFit or something in some number of years' times. And how do we get to that? Obviously, some growth is going to have to occur outside of the United States, which I think is growing faster. Certain areas are growing faster than we are. But from an affiliate owner, do you feel that those steps, absent Game Society, are they really helping? Do you like the support that you're getting? Tell us a little bit about, looking at it from a different lens.
I'm going to be totally honest. I haven't fully utilized affiliate support for a long time because honestly, for a long time, there wasn't a lot of affiliate support. And so unfortunately, I'm in the habit of not utilizing what that affiliate portal offers. For us as affiliate owners. I think it has gotten a lot better. From what I've heard from a lot of other affiliate owners, it is much better than it was before. Having said that, I don't I don't utilize it because for so many years, there wasn't really much there other than the name. And, for a lot of years, the name was enough. When CrossFit was really blowing up, it might have been worth it to pay $3,000 a year just to have the name and not get a ton of other support. I think that has changed a little bit.
There's a maturation in our methodology in sport.
Yep.
No doubt.
Yep. But I think I would say, and I've met Don a couple times now, and I really do like Don. I get a really good vibe from him. I do think that he is trying to, in a sound way, as much as he can, improve the affiliate experience and what HQ is offering us as affiliates, and what the value. He's helping to improve what the value is in being an affiliate.
There you go.
And it's
getting
been
something
a while
worth
since
your dollars.
Yeah, exactly. And it's been a while, I think, since a lot of us felt like there was a lot of value in that affiliate fee.
Well, congratulations on the future move, right?
Yes, exactly. Yep. Yeah. We have unknown months left in our temporary location, but we're just happy we have a location. It's actually it's up in the woods a little bit, so it's really peaceful up there. There's a ton of parking. There's a lot of homeless in Santa Cruz. At our old location, we encountered some. At our new location, we'll probably have some. So this temporary location is on this church property, and it's up in the woods. There's no homeless. There's just beautiful oak trees all around. So
wow, that sounds great.
But you've already had to move everything once.
Yeah.
And now you have to move everything again. So
this is what I would say.
Help the members.
Well, and everyone, they're looking around because we had been in that locale for 15 years. We had 15 years just worth of equipment and stuff. But we're CrossFitters. So we moved every single thing out of that gym in one day. One day. It was
accomplishment.
Because it's CrossFit. So we want to work hard. Everybody comes, like, there's community. So everybody came out and helped out or fed food or, they did all of these things. It's not the actual moving of the equipment that worries me at all. Like, I know I've got that covered with my members. For us, it's just been about finding the right location, finding something that's feasible for us. The permitting process, the parking process is so hard in Santa Cruz. That's been my biggest hurdle, the thing that worries me the most. The moving of all the equipment, no problem.
That'll be logistics are easy there.
Love that. Exactly.
You will stand there with your stopwatch and go 3, 2, 1,
1,
go.
Exactly.
And you can't use the clock on the wall because that has to be unplugged and moved. So you might as well use your stopwatch.
Exactly.
Because then you can transport your stopwatch with you as you're racing from spot to spot.
Yep, that's my easiest.
Certainly wish you well. If we were all geographically closer, we'd help pitch
100%.
I know you would. I appreciate that.
Well,
there's a little bit of distance right now.
Annie, we appreciate your time, and this has been so fun. Thanks for coming on with us. If people wanted to follow your journey as you move and as you settle into a new space, where can they find you online? Where would you like them to follow you?
Best would probably be Instagram. So I am at Annie Kimiko, Kimiko, or the gym is at CrossFit Santa Cruz Central, I think. I forget my... I run the Instagram.
We'll start searching here. Where's my phone?
We'll find it. It's close enough. We'll find it.
Yeah.
We'll start typing in. Hopefully, if we follow everything else in CrossFit, Instagram will just know to auto-correct or auto finish. Well, Annie, thank you so much, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you very much.
We may circle back. If we get more news, we may need to tap you again and get a little bit of that inside information. All right. We'll see you next time.
I love it. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for tuning into the Masters in Motion podcast. If you found this episode to be helpful, we'd be so grateful if you could take a moment to leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or your preferred podcast app. Your support helps us reach more listeners and grow our Masters community. Until next time, get bolder, not older. See ya.